Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney, and popping on here real quick, we're going to be going over my final Precious Fabric Challenge make, which is beautiful, and I'm absolutely in love with it, especially the outfit, how I've paired it. You'll see in a second. But it is Friday, so before we go any further, I do have a Love Notions Feature Friday pattern to share with you, and that is the Allegros. This is a fantastic, a lot for your money type of pattern. It is $5 today only for the Feature Friday. My code 10Whitney will get you an additional 10% off that sale price. And this is the last Feature Friday for this code. It will change when we get into fourth quarter next week, but just as a aside. But for this week, 10Whitney is going to get you 10% off that sale price. The Allegros are wonderful because it is a shorts, pants, and skirt pattern. You can get a whole bunch of variety of bottoms. It is meant for wovens. I think on the pants there's a jogger version and then more of just like a tapered leg type version. They sit at the natural waist. They are an elastic waist pant with pockets, and they're super quick to make up. And so if you are someone that is just delving into pants making, it is a wonderful pattern to use. So go grab that today if you haven't already. And on the note of Precious Fabric Challenge, we are starting to get towards the end. You guys still have until next Monday, end of day, to post those wonderful makes before we start picking winners, or randomly picking winners. But we have got some wonderful YouTubers that have taken part in this challenge, some wonderful sponsors that have graciously offered prizes for this challenge. And I've got all of that information over on Facebook. And we've got a wonderful roundup, some roundup posts and stuff over there too, because we do have a couple of vloggers that did join the tour later after the schedule was posted. So I want to make sure that you catch them as well. And I'll link a couple down below that were not on the original list that you may want to go over and have a look-see at their Precious Fabric. And I tell you, so many wonderful fabrics over there. You definitely want to go drool over some beautiful fabric. All right, let's go take a look at my Precious Fabric make. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney, excuse me, and today we have got my Precious Fabric Challenge reveal, but we're not at the end of the month yet, guys. We still have more vloggers that are showing off their final looks and everything else all the way through the end of the month, which is Monday. So keep tuning in, and then we will be announcing the winners. We've got so many great sponsors for this challenge. We're going to be able to have a few different winners, which is very exciting, and we'll be announcing that on Tuesday the 1st over on Instagram. That will all be happening on Instagram. So make sure you're watching your DMs the 1st and the 2nd, you know, depending on your time zone. It may be after you've gone to bed on the 1st or whatever. But make sure you're checking your DMs because we will be DMing the winners, because some of the prizes we need to give the sponsors your name and email for them to, it's all digital products, but we do need to get that information so we can get prizes to people. So yeah, so be watching your DM inboxes on Tuesday the 1st and Wednesday the 2nd, which is all very exciting. But I am here to talk about my finished Precious Fabric Challenge blouse. And I'm also going to actually style my wearable muslin for you guys as well. I made a little bit of a tweak to it just to make it a little bit more wearable per a suggestion from one of my wonderful viewers, which is also really cool. I love when you guys do that. But just as a reminder, so when I was picking what fabric I was going to use for my Precious Fabric Challenge, I had 3 options. Put them over on Instagram. Oh, there's Gidget. You guys voted and picked this beautiful Italian silk charmeuse that I had purchased in Rome when I was there in the summer of 23, June of 23. And oh my gosh, I am in love. Number one, this fabric was beautiful to work with. Charmeuse gets a bad rap because it's a slinkier fabric. It's like liquid to wear. But it really, because it's silk, it actually does stick to itself. It is not nearly as hard as its synthetic or man-made-ish components. So like even like a rayon that has some charmeuse type qualities, like a satin on one side and a crepe on the back. Although a rayon version is easier to work with than a polyester version. The polyester versions just slide all over the place and can be a real pain to try and tame. Silk charmeuse really isn't, silk charmeuse really isn't that bad when it comes to working with slinkier fabrics. I love this fabric. So anyway, this is what you guys picked. You picked a pattern for me from the Lutterloh catalog. So if you recall, I did a video at the beginning of the month with how to use the Lutterloh system. And honestly, I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of viewers that also use the Lutterloh system with some tips and tricks for kind of getting around having to do a full bust adjustment, as in using my upper bust measurement for part of for basically the neckline and like armholes, and then using my full bust measurement, from like underarm to the waist, and then using hip from waist down. That's how they've gotten away from having for things fitting really, really well and having almost zero adjustments they need to make. Anyway, so I'm very excited about playing around with the system a little bit more, trying some of the tips and tricks that you guys have left for me, because this is my first foray into Lutterloh. I did make that knit outfit out of the hemp fabric from Hemp Teak, which I've been loving that set. I'm very glad I dyed it, and I had hesitations because I really did like it in its natural state, but also loving that outfit. So anyway, I've just kind of recently started delving into the Lutterloh patterns, but there's so many that are in that catalog. So this is going to be a lot of fun, I think, just to play around a little bit, do some experimenting, and finding the best ways that work for me. And of course, anything I do in the sewing realm, I report back to you all. So I will keep you guys posted on what I'm finding that works and that sort of thing as I go. But I'm very pleased with how this finished blouse came out. So as a reminder, this was the pattern that I grabbed from Lutterloh. I know it's got a number on it. I can't think of the number off the top of my head. Is it 132 or 125, something like that? Anyway, it's on the pattern. The green dress was the one that I picked. Someone said that it was from supplement and had the supplement number. I don't have that information because this pattern came in the starter kit for me. So I don't know what supplement originally that pattern came from, but I just have the number. So anyway, this is the pattern that I used and did the drafting off of. And I created this wearable muslin dress out of this army green rayon challis, really thin rayon challis. And I determined, if you watch the muslin video, that I needed to do a narrow shoulder adjustment as well as shorten it 1 inch at the waist. So bring that waist measurement, or bring that waist, the skinniest part of the waist up to my narrowest part, basically, because I was getting too much fabric in between my bust and hips. Too much fabric was pooling there. It was just a little bit too long for me, which is very typical because I am short. I have a short torso. I'm short-waisted through there. So those were the 2 adjustments that I made to get to my final blouse. I did a 3/4 inch narrow shoulder adjustment and then raised the waist by 1 inch. However, I think this dress is a lot of fun, and I'm going to now show it to you styled so you can kind of see how I'm going to actually be wearing it. Very excited to wear it. But one of the viewers suggested, hey, a way that you could fix this version, obviously shortening it at the waist isn't possible now that it's made up, but doing a narrow shoulder adjustment is somewhat possible. I could have taken the sleeve off and actually just moved it up, but that makes the armhole really big, so I probably would have needed to take in quite a bit at the underarm, which probably would have been fine, but it would have been involved. But one of the viewers said, why don't you just sew clear elastic into the shoulder seams? And that's what I did. So it gives it almost this like gathering effect here at the shoulder, and brings the shoulder in. It sits much closer to my regular shoulder. So anyway, it looks a little less oversized, I feel like, on me. So that was a great and easy little solution. And I didn't have to unpick anything, which is fantastic. So what I did was I cut a piece of elastic about the size of my shoulder, less, like maybe, I don't know, 1/2 inch. And then I used a zigzag stitch and zigzagged, started it in the seam allowance of the shoulder seam. And then I just stretched it to fit and zigzagged, just a regular zigzag. So whatever that is, like a 2.5 length, 2 width, something like that. Just, it's what the standard was on my machine. Stretching as I go. And then you hit it with some steam and it shrinks that up and makes that, shoulder. It almost gives a ruching effect there at the shoulder. And I think that that worked really well and was a very easy thing to do. So I am really looking forward to wearing this layered. Even though these are very voluminous sleeves, this is a very thin fabric. So I can wedge these sleeves into cardigan sleeves, especially I have a hand knitted cardigan that's cropped that has a big voluminous sleeve. I'll absolutely be able to get these inside of that cardigan. I've got a sweater vest that I'm excited to play around and styling it with that. I would love, I have a fitted vest that I did a test for. You guys have seen it. It's been a while. The Pattern Scout birch vest. It does not fit me right now though. But which is too bad because it's like a mustard yellow, like a, not mustard, it is a marigold, that orangey yellow that I love, kind of that macaroni and cheese color. And a fitted vest like that would be so good over this. So if I can, and I will, my weight fluctuates like wildly. It's my autoimmune disorder. And I get that. I have so many people that thank you for looking out for me, suggesting things, going vegan and stuff like that. But rest assured, I can't go vegan because the way vegans get their protein, because of my autoimmune, I can't eat a lot of those foods. So I can't, yeah. So there's reasons I'm monitored by a doctor. It fluctuates wildly. Thank you though for looking out for me. Anyway, so at some point I will be down at the bottom range of my weight range, and then the vest will fit again. So I think at that point it'll be really cute to pair over this dress. And I love it paired with the tall boots. I think that's a lot of fun for fall as well. So that is how I fixed my wearable muslin to make it a little bit more wearable. I mean, it still gets caught on my butt, but it's fine. I'm moving around. It's good. But the pattern's fixed now. So if I wanted to make another dress later on down the road, I absolutely can. The pattern's been altered. So I took those adjustments, made them to my pattern before I cut out my beautiful silk charmeuse. But then I decided to go ahead and just cut this into a top. It hits me high hip. I just have it tucked into the skirt, which, stay tuned on this. You haven't seen this yet, but you will be seeing it very soon. So, it just goes really well with this blouse. It gives a very good 1970s vibe, I think. Anyway, made the blouse, absolutely love it. And I went completely all out. This is a very simple pattern, a very simple sew. Basically, there aren't a lot of like intricate details, but I did all the handwork, folks. So instead of doing a bias binding finish, like a bias facing to finish off the neckline, I actually bound the neckline here, and I finished that off with hand sewing. I don't particularly enjoy hand sewing. I'll do it occasionally, but I did it on this though. I did all French seams with the exception of in the back, excuse the skirt is bigger than my mannequin. Here for the center back, because I put a keyhole here, and I finished this off at the top of the keyhole with just a hook and eye. But because I've got this keyhole, I didn't want to, I could do a French seam, but then you're clipping into it to be able to finish off the top of the keyhole. So instead what I did was I sewed my seams right sides together. I gave myself a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance because I knew I wanted some wiggle room to play around with these. And then I pressed it open, my seam allowance open, and then I took the raw edges of the seam allowance and folded them back under. So almost like a flat fell seam, almost-ish. And then I top stitched them in place. So if you look really carefully, there's top stitching on either side of the seam, all the way down the center back. It gets lost in the fabric. Not real concerned about it, but it finishes it off really beautifully. And then I don't have any serger or anything. Everything is finished with French seams. So my shoulder seams, the arm side seam, and then my underarm and side seams are all finished with beautiful French seams. Then for my cuff, I did all of that, did a whole bunch of handwork. I did a bias placket finish, the continuous bias placket finish, which I love on these type of fabrics. Finished that off by hand. And then if you saw last Friday, you saw my rouleau loop tutorial. I used my rouleau loops to make little buttonholes basically for my cuff. So you can take a look at those, but it finishes it off really, really well there. I probably could have lost a little bit of length of my sleeve, but again, I really wanted them to be big and billowy, and I was nervous about taking too much away. So I probably could have lost like a half an inch and been fine, but I'm not mad with the volume that's in the sleeve. That's kind of the whole reason I wanted to do this pattern anyway. And then with my hem, I did a little baby hem, and I did the band roll trick that I have a video on that with the bias cut skirt that I did. But I did the band roll hem on the bottom, and mostly because it was fiddly. I don't think that I really needed to do it for, because it's not a curved hem. I did just a straight hem because it's just a high hip hem. But just because it's charmeuse and it's a little fiddly, I thought, you know, this will give it some stability and make it really easy. And it did. So I'm glad that I did that. And you can kind of see, untuck this a little. Just a really nice little baby hem here on the bottom. You probably can't even see that. But there's my beautiful French seams that are in there. I'm very proud of them. So I really took my time on this. And I actually, I don't really enjoy starting a project, putting it aside, and starting to work on something else. That is the surefirest way for an item to go into my work in progress pile to never be touched again. I mean, I think I have 4 garments in my my works in progress pile that need to be finished, or even started. 3 of them are cut out, and I just haven't sewn them together. 1 of them is partially sewed. I just really have to stay on that. But because of you know, what I do, and with other projects that were coming up, I did have to set this aside for a little bit and then come back. So I was able to really take my time and do the finishes really beautifully. And I'm so glad. I'm so pleased with my finished blouse. I think this is going to be wonderful with jeans, just as well as with like cute little A-line skirts, trousers. Gosh, wearing it under, do I need a pinafore dress now? Maybe, like a jumper. Here in the US, we would call it a jumper dress. Maybe, you know, to have the billowy sleeves like out to play. Gosh, sweater vests. I mean, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of really great ways for me to wear this. And it's silk, which means it is super, super comfortable. So there you have it, guys. This is my finished Precious Fabric Challenge make. So glad I got it made up. So glad I took it from my stash and into my wardrobe so I can really enjoy wearing this, because this fabric makes me so happy. And that's the reason that I bought it. So very happy. I want to thank everyone that has sewn along with me so far. I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed looking at people's, you know, plans for their precious fabric, looking at their stashes of all these gorgeous fabrics, and then seeing them made up. I've just found it so inspiring. It's one of the things I love about the sewing community. We'll have to do this again. Like, maybe this can become an annual thing. I don't know. Because I've got other fabrics that also need to be pulled out of my stash and put into my wardrobe. But I've really enjoyed this. Thank you to all of our sponsors as well. And stay tuned for the winners to be announced on October 1st and 2nd, ish, somewhere around there. So I will announce it on Instagram, as well as notifying the winners via the DM. So yeah, stay tuned on there. Okay, that is all I have for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy the end of your September. And I will be back with my Destashify video. I know you guys haven't seen a September Destashify video. Things got moved around with pattern releases and stuff. So Destashify will be coming out on Tuesday, October 1st. Close enough. So thank you for bearing with me on that. Okay, that's all I have. Have a great weekend. Get some sewing in, and I will see you guys again next time.